This award titled Best Performing Data Protection Compliance Organization DPCO in Nigeria to a very interesting organization, Flourish Nigeria Limited. On behalf of the organizers and NDPC, I present this to you. Congratulations.
I am so excited about this award given to us by the Nigeria Data Protection Commission.
Out of 160 data protection compliance organizations in Nigeria, the commission have awarded us as the best. Then, what's stopping you from engaging us? Come on. Let me get back to work. Welcome to Follow This.
We have been awarded as the best DPCO in Nigeria. It's an honor and it shows the commitment of the team in-house. As data protection consultants, we work with clients from diverse industries, from agriculture to banking, fintech, ministries, department and agency, educational institutions, aviation company, hospitality industry. We have our footprint. Our client base is over 1,000 at present. I'm so excited to be part of Flowless. We've been working with diverse companies, helping them mitigate cybersecurity risk. Majority of the services we provide have shown to help mitigate data breaches, one of which is data protection training and capacity building. We empower organizations with top-notch learning curriculum to mitigate risk. We also help organizations draft privacy policies and procedures that will help them handle data in a confidential way. We also help in addressing data privacy gaps. At Flowless, we value data protection. Visit our website to learn more about our tailored data protection consulting services. Follow all our social media handles to stay updated on current news as regards data protection. Once again, I appreciate every client who believes in Flowless to meet their data protection needs. Thank you and be data protection conscious. Good morning and welcome to our YouTube live training session. Today's session will focus on explaining the CBN risk-based cybersecurity framework aimed at helping other financial institutions mitigate cybersecurity risk. I'm your host, Daniel Huber, Head of Compliance at Flowless. So the Central Bank, through the Other Financial Institutions Supervision Department, has set March 31st, 2024 as the deadline for the submission of reports as regards the cybersecurity compliance of the OFI subsector. Now, majority of the chief information security officers and the managing directors of these institutions are worried because of the timeline and the cost of compliance. So today's session will help participants understand how to comply with the guideline at a minimal cost. But before we proceed, why should we have this framework, the CBN risk-based cybersecurity framework? What's the importance? Now, the framework will help financial institutions identify, assess, and manage cybersecurity risk effectively. You will agree with me that since the introduction of high-end technology and the fintech into the financial space, there has been a rise in cyber threats, and this has prompted the CBN as a regulatory body to improvise and step up in terms of compliance. So it will also help in building trust and confidence in the OFI subsector. And most importantly, to help customers be rest assured that their sensitive data will not be disclosed to parties who have unauthorized access. So with that being said, we are going to go straight to the key players. Now, for every act, regulation, or framework, there are key players. So the CBN risk-based cybersecurity framework has key players, one of which, and most important, is the Chief Information Security Officer. So by law, every OFI is expected to designate a staff as the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. Now, for you to be a CISO, there are some prerequisite knowledge you should have. Of course, you should have IT background to be able to perform effectively. But most importantly, you should be of a senior management cadre within your organization because you need the adequate authority, experience, and independence to fit into this role. Also, as the CISO, you will be reporting directly to the MD and the CEO. So you should know that there are some certifications you should have within a period of 3 years based on the framework. One of which is the Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP. Another is the Certified Information Security Manager, and we also have the Certified Chief Information Security Officer. So you are expected within a period of 3 years from the date of your appointment, mark it from the date of your appointment, to have any of these certifications I just mentioned for you to continue to be the CISO. So at appointment, you may not have the certification. So it's not between this appointed CISO and the organization to know how to sponsor the employee because these certifications are very expensive. So organizations should have it at the back of their mind. They need to sponsor the employee for this. It's very expensive. It's billed in dollars, and you can imagine how much it will cost. So organizations should make funds available for the designated CISO to obtain this certification. Now, there are some OFIs that are not too big, like the Tier 2 microfinance banks, the Unit Tier 2 microfinance bank. They may not have to appoint a CISO, but what they should do is make the head of IT fit into that role because they don't really have that funds to be able to appoint someone or employ someone. So the head of IT can take up this role. The regulation allows that, most especially when you are a Unit Tier 2 microfinance bank. Alternatively, you can outsource this role to a third party consultant who will serve on a part-time basis. So whatever the management of the Tier 2 MFB adopts will also help them comply in terms of either they designate the head of IT to fit into the role or get a third party consultant to serve on a part-time basis. Good. So having understood the CISO, you also need to know that the CISO is expected to send quarterly reports to the MD. And this report will showcase the exposure of the OFI. That's why you need to conduct vulnerability and penetration tests to be able to know how secured the applications you use for your day-to-day banking operation is. So you are supposed to send quarterly reports to the MD and at some point also educate the board of directors as regards the OFI compliance status. Now, we also have something called the Information Security Steering Committee. The Information Security Steering Committee is mandatory for any OFI that has more than 30 employees. So if you have more than 30 employees, you must have an Information Security Steering Committee. Now, the ISSC will consist of senior representatives from relevant departments within the institution. So they are to advise the board, advise the senior management on how to implement the security policies and align with the objective of the business, and also evaluate the compliance as far as cybersecurity is concerned of the institution. Now, there are certain OFIs that will have less than 30 employees. So they will not be mandated to have the Information Security Steering Committee. However, they are to have the Information Technology Steering Committee. So for those that have less than 30 employees, they will have the Information Technology Steering Committee. So when CBN is coming to your OFI to do their supervisory and regulatory function, these are some of the things they will be looking at for. Do you have a CISO? Is it certified? Does he has the right qualifications? Is he independent? Who does he report to? Do you have an information security steering committee? Do you have an information technology steering committee? So these are things that you should know and implement. Now, you also have a role for the cybersecurity consultant like Flowlease. The cybersecurity consultant is going to be an external institution that help you conduct vulnerability and penetration testing, train your employees and your third-party vendors to be able to avoid things like phishing, social engineering, and identity theft. So by the regulation issued, you are supposed to have a third-party consultant to guide you, because if you don't get a third party consultant, it may be difficult for you to fully comply with the regulation. So you need to get a third party consultant, and Flowlease will be there to guide you through this process. So you can reach out to us so that we can be your consultant as regards this CBN risk-based cybersecurity framework. So we also have the board of directors. Now, the board of directors also play a key role in this framework. For instance, they are to make sure there is budget provision for the CISO. They are also to make sure that the bank adopts the best technology. And technology costs money to implement. So the board of directors have to be carried along so that they can make adequate financial provisions. Also, they are to ensure that every employee undergoes at least security awareness training based on their job role. So, take for instance, you have an employee in the customer care unit. The kind of cyber threat he or she will face will be different from the person working in the accounts department. So, the board of directors is supposed to chart a cyber security training awareness campaign. Also, you need to notify your customers on best practices, how to keep their password, not to share their OTP. So all these things will also need funding. So the board of directors play a very key role. And we also have the customers, because at the end of the day, what keeps employee coming to work is because they are customers using your product and services. And how do you keep them? By building trust and confidence. So you have to also know that the customers are key in the implementation of this framework. And finally, we have the CBN, which happens to be the regulatory body. So the CBN is going to enforce this regulation through the other financial institution supervisions department. So you are to send your reports by March 31st to the director, other financial institution supervision department. So that will be your point of contact. Now, what are the call to actions? What do we expect from the OFIs? What does CBN expect from the OFIs? Today is the 8th of March, and you are expected to submit this report by the 31st. So, what are those things you should be looking at for? First, you need to conduct a vulnerability and penetration test on your web and mobile applications. Now, for you to conduct a detailed VAPT, you need someone who is experienced, someone who has the knowledge, because if you fail to conduct it, your application may be vulnerable. And also, we have some organizations that use end of life IT assets. Take, for instance, you are using an operating system that is not supported by the vendor. It's an end of life application. So, for us to also help participants understand how to know when an application is end of life, I'm going to be sharing a screen so that you can be able to check your IT assets and see if they are end of life applications. So you can use this website to evaluate your IT assets. When I mean IT assets, I mean hardware, I mean software. So now the website is endoflife.date. So if you come here, if you come here, you are going to see operating system. If you come to Windows, you click on Windows, you are going to see the active Windows OS that are supported by Microsoft, which happens to be the vendor. So take for instance, your OFI is running something that is not supported. It will be considered an end of life application. So when CBN comes, they want to be sure that, okay, your applications are not end of life. Do you get it? And how do you know that you can use this tool I'm sharing, end of life.date? So you can check all your hardware, all your software to be sure that you are not running applications that are not supported. Someone may be asking, what is the risk of using an application that is not supported by the vendor? Now, when you have an application that is not supported by the vendor, there will be no security update. So if you don't have security updates, there will be no patches. When there's no patches, people we call hacker will now take advantage of that weakness and break into your system. So you need to understand that that web link I shared, the URL endoflife.date, should be something that every CISO should use frequently to evaluate their systems and be sure that yes, there is no end of life application in use, because it is part of CBN supervisory role to look at OFIs that are still running end of life IT assets. Now we have the cybersecurity awareness. So every OFI is expected to have a training curriculum focused on cybersecurity awareness so that every employee understand the threats and vulnerabilities the organization will be exposed to. And you're also expected to send your report by March 31st. Now, as regards to reporting, CBN has issued out an Excel sheet. That Excel sheet comes with different things the CISO should populate. But this is my rule of thumb. The CISO should not fill it alone. He should get at least two other employees to guide him while he's answering those questions, so that it's something that reflects the position of the organization, not the CISO just sitting in one desk and attempting all the questions. And at the end of the day, you don't get the right compliance result that your organization should get. So we also talked about appointing a CISO. It's very important. You are supposed to appoint a CISO if you've not. And when you're appointing a CISO, you must issue the person an appointment letter, because when CBN comes, these are things they will be asking for. Where is the appointment letter of the CISO? Not that you just delegated somebody. There should be an appointment letter issued. Then your cybersecurity policies, you should have them handy so that you can easily implement these policies. And one thing you should understand about implementing policy is don't try to implement all your policies at once. Take, for instance, you have a cybersecurity policy. You can implement it gradually. After you've seen people understand the cybersecurity policy, you can say, okay, let us educate our employees on the password policy. Don't lump everything on all your employees at once. This is password policy, this is cybersecurity policy. Make it gradual so that when they understand the importance of a privacy policy, the importance of a password policy, the importance of a cybersecurity policy, then you can bring other policies on board. If you bring all the policies at the same time, you will not have a tangible result at the end of the day. So take it one step at a time. So this is how you can implement it. You can send out a mail through your intranet to all employees. This is our password policy. This is the minimum password combination. This is when you need to change your password every 30 days or every 90 days, depending on your exposure to cybersecurity risk. And once employee begins to apply those protocols, those controls, you can say, okay, they now understand the password policy. We can now introduce the cybersecurity policy. We can now introduce the access control policy. But if you do it all at once, you will not achieve your end goal. Now, you also need to evidence all your IT assets, your hardware, your software. Those are your core assets. Your employees to some extent, but what CBN will be more interested in will be the hardware and the software. So you need to have an IT asset inventory. And how do you do that? Take, for instance, you have laptops, you have printers, you have scanners, you have CCTV camera. You should be able to have an inventory of all these IT assets. Now, your third party vendors, you are to audit them to be sure that yes, they will not be a weak link, because they also have access to your applications. They also use some of those URL you share with your customers. And if they are breached, it will also affect your own end. So you have to make sure you audit your vendors, have adequate service level agreement with them, make sure you have clauses that talk about data breach, cybersecurity risk, cybersecurity exposure, and you can also even adopt cybersecurity insurance. Though it's expensive, but it's something you should also have knowledge about and see, okay, if we experience a cyber attack, do we have an insurance plan that can help us out? So I'm going to explain how Flowlist can be of help to your institution as regards implementing this framework. So we have a 9-step approach. The first step is to come on board as a customer. I'm going to share with you our URL where we onboard our customers. Once you fill your details on that URL, we'll reach out to you and start the process. So we're going to conduct a vulnerability and penetration test on your website and mobile application, depending on what you want us to conduct for you. So once we do that, we are going to share with you a detailed VAPT report, which is something very important CBN wants to see. Now, the next thing is you are going to fill the CBN approved risk-based cybersecurity assessment template. That Excel document that has been moving from CBN to every OFI, you have to fill it. But because it's a technical document, I will not advise you just fill and submit to CBN. You need Flowlist to guide you, so that where you have made error, where you have not fit properly, our team can guide you. Because when you start filling that template, you will discover that some of the questions are a little bit technical and some of them may not apply to you. Take, for instance, when you go to the section that talks about the vulnerabilities and threats, you may not be able to fill it because you don't have a background in cybersecurity or you are not well exposed. So when you finish filling the form based on your own experience, you need to send it back to Flowlist. Flowlist will delegate a staff who is going to look at what you filled and reach out to you so that you can be able to put in the right input. Once that is done, we are going to also do an information security audit on your IT infrastructure. That's what we talked about, the IT asset inventory. We'll share with you templates for you to be able to document all your IT hardware and software. So once that is done, we are going to ask you to submit that report to CBN. But before you submit that report to CBN, we are going to give you an attestation later that we have gone through your IT infrastructure and whatever we are reporting is correct, accurate, and precise as at the time the audit was conducted. And that attestation letter will be signed by Flowlist and the CISO. So we'll sign our part, sent to you for your CISO to sign. Now, once that is done, the cybersecurity policies will be drafted and sent to your team. Just as I advised, the policies will be coming in batches so that it is well implemented. Because from research, if you implement, say, 20 policies at a time, you won't achieve much. But if you implement two, then the next quarter you implement two, the next quarter you implement two. So you'll see more compliance in terms of your employees and users of your application. So once that is done, we are going to conduct awareness training for your employee board of directors to be able to understand the risk exposure. To be able to understand the risk exposure and what to do in terms of bringing in more budget provision for the organization cybersecurity compliance. So at this point, if you have questions, you can ask while I share the onboarding form so that participants can be able to key into the cybersecurity program of Flowlist so that you can be able to get your compliance ready. And I can assure you that every organization that has engaged and will engage us will have their reports submitted by March 31st to the CBN. So you have nothing to fear. And I can also assure you that once you reach out to us, we are going to conduct your VAPT as promptly as possible. So keep your questions coming. while I share with you the link for you to get onboarded. So I also share the end of life date so that the CISOs can also make use of that to evaluate their IT systems. So for you to get onboarded is simply www.flowlist.com/cybersecurity. So I'm going to share that screen and explain what you need to do. Okay, someone just asked, the Excel sheet sent by CBN is not opening up to now, and CBN has not reverted. Well, that's true. I also know that some people say they got another template that is working. Well, I'm not going to speak for CBN, but we're in touch with them, and I'm very sure that every OFI will get that template. Um, if you are yet to get it, you will get it. I'm very sure about that. CBN is at the top of it, and the technical issues will be resolved as soon as possible. So it's www.flowlist.com/cybersecurity. Okay, how do you manage client relationship when they are outside Abuja? Okay, well, today we practically have so many meetings online, and in fact this training, reaching out to so many people as far as Zamfara, Sokoto, Lagos, and even in Abuja where I am currently. So we have team of professionals that will attend to your needs, so you have no issues. In fact, Flowlist is the best data protection compliance organization in Nigeria, and we have clients as far as Zamfara, Sokoto, Lagos, Kebbi, Jigawa. So you don't have issues. Technology has made our life easy. You understand? We can have meetings, we can have virtual sessions, and we can also send in consultants where the need arise. So you have no issues. We have our staff strength that can manage this timeline. So you don't have any issues. Okay. Okay. The end of life asset uh, website. Okay, someone is asking. It is www.endoflife.date. Okay. Okay, someone is asking, my organization does not have a mobile and web application on the web. How is the pen test relevant to my organization? Do you have a website? If you have a website, of course, if that website is hijacked or cloned, it's going to affect your customers. So you conduct the VAPT on your website. So for institutions that don't have mobile app, at least you should have a website. So that will also be relevant to you. And don't forget, when you talk about vulnerability assessment, it includes your network, it includes other aspects of your IT security infrastructure. But what CBN will be more interested in this first phase will be your website and your core banking application. So it's good you run the vulnerability assessment so that you can be able to detect those risks as fast as possible. Okay, my name is Owen Yokori from City. Okay. Does CBN audit based on cybersecurity rules? How frequently? So the audit is an annual audit, but CBN can send in their staff to come into your organization at any time, but it's an annual report you send. Okay, so I'm going to share this page now. So if you want Flowless to guide you through this process and help you with your compliance, it's very easy. Come to www.flowless.com/cybersecurity. And when you come, you fill in your name, your email, your phone number, the company name, your website, and you submit. So our team will reach out to your organization. But once you've submitted this, we are going to run a vulnerability and penetration test on your website. And that report will be shared with you, even when you've not even engaged us, just to show you that yes, we're at the top of our game and we're going to be there 24 hours, 7 days a week to support you. So once you feel this, I can assure you that maximum Wednesday morning, any person that has reached out to us will get a website vulnerability report so that you can see how far we can go in terms of assisting you with your cybersecurity need. So please book your consultation so that we can be able to meet up with the deadline. It's March 31st, so that all those things CBN wants from your institution, we can be able to get them sorted out as fast as possible. And someone also asked me to share the end of life website. I'm going to do that again so that you can begin to audit your systems. So the website once again is www.endoflife.date. So you can check any application, any hardware on this platform to be able to know if they are still supported by the vendor. So please have this bookmark on your browser, and whenever you have a software, you have a hardware you want to discard, before you do that, make sure that it has reached its end of life unless you have other needs to discard it. So if you have more questions, you are free to drop it. Okay, for core banking applications owned by third-party vendors conducting their own security risk, how relevant does running this? Okay, okay, what you are saying is for OFIs that have core banking applications that are owned by third-party vendors. Okay, so this is how you do this. You need to let the vendor know you want to conduct a vulnerability assessment. You need to get their clearance. Then once you get the clearance, you can share the URL with the pen tester, and the vulnerability assessment to be conducted. Because for every core banking application, there should be a URL that is linked to that particular customer. So it's going to be run on that. If it's a mobile app, you have your API. And if you have API shared with it, if it's a mobile app, you have your Android build or your iOS IPFI. So that's what will be used to run the vulnerability assessment. So how much are we paying? So because every institution has its own peculiarity, you have to reach out to our team to get a quote. So the URL for onboarding, I'm going to share that URL for onboarding. Is www.flowless.com/cybersecurity. So for everybody that fills this onboarding form and wants to book a consultation, we are giving you a free vulnerability assessment report on your website. So please take advantage of this opportunity. And I can assure you the cost of engaging us is very affordable. And just as I mentioned, we have experience, and the Nigeria Data Protection Commission has also seen our work, and we were awarded the best data protection compliance organization in Nigeria. So that shows how much we put in terms of meeting our needs and the client needs as far as cybersecurity is concerned. Okay. Okay, if you don't have a website, now you don't need a vulnerability and penetration test. If you just do your normal banking remotely, but I doubt if there are banks that still operate that way, but maybe one or two. So in that case, you can run a VAPT. So what you need to do is designate a CISO, make sure he's trained. If you can't afford the CISSP certification at this point, at least enroll him for some core cybersecurity training. You understand? Have your policies. You get it. Then make sure that you have your information security steering committee. If you have more than 30 employees, just do those basic things, because CBN in their own wisdom know that not all OFIs have core banking application. But if you know you have it, you have to run those technical controls. Okay, someone is asking me if I have access to a workable CBN cybersecurity template. Well, to be honest, the one I have is the one we used for our client last year. You understand? Because we also did this for some of our clients last year, and that's what I have. It's only CBN that can give out this template. You understand? So I would ask OFIs to be patient for CBN if they are yet to receive an official one from CBN. But I can assure you that if you have the previous one, the changes are not much. You understand? Okay. So once we have access to the new one, all those who have booked our consultation will send the new one to them immediately. So that's one advantage of booking consultation with Flowlist. So you can get information promptly. Okay. As regards financial costs, it's based on the organization and it's not something we're going to say publicly because every organization has its own peculiarity. Okay, filling the onboarding form, website is a must fill and we don't have a website. Okay, so what will happen is that the technical team, immediately after this YouTube, will make the website optional. You understand? So that those who don't have a website can also fill the onboarding form. That was the technical control we put in place to be able to know the organization that is reaching out to us. So we'll make it optional. Okay, and someone says the second template they sent is opening. If you have that template, I will advise you compare it with the one of last year so that you are sure it's a most recent template because I've seen so many templates that look alike. So please try to confirm if it's the most recent one. Okay, someone says I should list the 9 stages of approach. Okay, for reference purpose, I'm going to list that again. So the first stage is to fill the onboarding form. Once you fill the onboarding form, you are going to give us consent to conduct a vulnerability assessment on your website. So that report will be shared with you maximum Wednesday morning. So once you get that report, now you can now onboard as a customer and you fill the CBN approved risk sent to us. We review and give you permission to proceed. We also give you the attestation letter, which is required for you to submit your report. And that attestation letter, just as I said, will be signed by our personnel and the CISO of the OFI. So the policies will be drafted and awareness training will be conducted for the staff of the OFI and the board of directors. After which the OFI can also enroll the CISO for any of the approved certifications that is required. Those certifications are foreign based and comes at a cost. So once that is done, we'll also continue with quarterly reporting in terms of vulnerability and penetration tests for all our clients every quarter. So I think that helps out. So let me see if I have more questions. Okay, someone is asking, do we need to use the same template we used last year? I'm not going to speak for CBN. I will expect CBN to answer this themselves. But from what I've seen, I think the template look alike. But if you've received it officially from CBN, then it is approved. You understand? Okay, if you've made payment to Flowlist, then you need to reach out to us and we'll kickstart the process. If we've not started, that is it. Okay, CISO means Chief Information Security Officer. So sorry, I mentioned that earlier. CISO means Chief Information Security Officer. So keep the questions coming and we'll take those questions as it comes. Okay, while the questions are coming, I'm going to do a recap of what we've learned today and the call to actions. So, in today's session, we talked about the purpose of the guideline, one of which is to make sure that the trust customers have for the OFI remains and there's minimal cybersecurity risk. We also talked about the key players, the Chief Information Security Officer, their role, how you appoint a CISO, what you should look out for. We talked about the Information Security Steering Committee. We talked about the role of the consulting firm and what the board of directors should do. We talked about how CBN will conduct their supervisory role. You understand? And we also explained the basic things that OFI can do. You understand? One of which is conducting vulnerability assessment, identifying end of life IT assets, awareness training for employees, and reporting the cybersecurity compliance status of the OFI. We also talked about the asset inventory, the third party vendor audit, the security policy, and appointing a CISO. Then we also gave instances on how you can become a client through filling the onboarding form. So, with that being said, I think we've been able to achieve our target goal, which is summarizing the compliance process for everybody to understand. Okay. Okay. Will the test be done on our organization or be free? Now, the test that we are doing on your website, it's just a free service we are doing prior to your onboarding. You understand? So once you get that report, we can now begin to talk about the financials on how much it will cost for us to do your audits and reporting to CBN. Okay, must head of IT also be given appointment letter? Of course, and it's only for unit tier 2 MFBs that will get the head of IT to fit into that role. Only unit tier 2. If you are not a unit tier 2 microfinance bank, you are supposed to designate a CISO or appoint someone on a part-time basis as a consultant. But it's better you appoint from within, because take for instance, you have a cyber attack. Your consultant may not be on ground to carry out a risk assessment. But of course, employees will always be on ground. So when you are getting a consultant, you need to look at the pros and the cons for the CISO. You understand? One of the advantage of getting external consultant is experience and knowledge. You understand? Okay, someone is asking me to list the certifications the CISO needs. Okay, the first certification that CBN looks at for is the Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP. The next is the Certified Information Security Manager, CISM. And the next is the Certified Chief Information Security Officer, CCISO. Any of this, it's okay by CBN. Okay, you said you contracted Flowlease and we did the training and the report last year. How do we go about it this year? Okay, the same way we did your reporting last year, just reach out to us. We'll do the same. You understand? Thank you. Okay, I'm a unit tier 2 MFB. I don't have resident IT officer. I have a consultant IT company. Of course, the person can be your designated CISO. Yes. But let me advise organizations, if you are putting a designated CISO as your CISO, this is what you should do. Please, the email you use to send the person details to CBN should be your own email so you can get those correspondence firsthand. You understand? Because take for instance, you use the CISO details. You may not be getting notifications from CBN. They may be coming for their audit and you may not know. You understand? So while you designate someone, please, the contact information should be that of the bank so you can get information promptly. Okay, Flawless does not do these certifications because it's a foreign certification. However, we can guide you, we can help you register. Is that understood? CISSP, CISM, CCISO are all foreign certifications paid in dollars, but we can guide you on how you can get these certifications. We don't do it. You understand? And don't forget, you have a 3-year period from the date of appointment to get any of these certifications. So, with that being said, it's a very fruitful 45 minutes, and I appreciate every person who has come to this training. I believe you are well informed now, and you can reach out to our team. Please, once you fill that onboarding form, be rest assured you will get a website vulnerability and penetration test report. That should be one of the ways that you get started with this compliance process. Okay, someone is saying the slides. Okay, I'll talk with my team to see how the slides can be sent to participants. But you know, it's only when you have filled that form we can get your details, because this is a live YouTube training. So thank you everyone, and enjoy your weekend.